Evolutionary Robustness of Embryonic Cells. In the late 19th century, experimental embryologists attempted to solve the mysteries of development with cellular manipulations in model organisms such as sea urchins or amphibians. They discovered that embryos are remarkably resilient, but in the absence of any real understanding of the inner workings of cells, these experiments could only lead to qualitative phenomenological explanations and provided many more questions than satisfying answers. The behavior of developing sea urchin embryos was especially puzzling to Hans Driesch. When he separated the two embryonic cells called blastomeres, resulting from the first division of the fertilized sea urchin egg, he found that they both developed into complete individuals. This was also true after the second division. All 4 cells could separately develop into 4 complete individuals. By 1885, Driesch had found that the embryo even developed normally after shuffling or recombining blastomeres of separate embryos. As an undergraduate student at UC Berkeley, my fellow classmates and I reproduced these sorts of remarkable results in academic exercises in the laboratory. For example, the blastomeres of sea urchin embryos fall apart in artificial seawater, lacking calcium and magnesium ions. When normal concentrations of calcium and magnesium are restored, cells from separate individuals reaggregate, and the chimeric individuals subsequently undergo normal development. In 1885, however, much to the chagrin of his colleagues, Driesch began to part ways with the objectivity of empirical science and instead began to dabble in vitalism, a mystical approach to philosophy. He invoked the concept of entelechy, a term borrowed from Aristotle to try to explain his puzzling experimental findings. He proposed that some form of non-localized, mind-like life force was responsible for guiding the development of the sea urchin embryos. It's important to distinguish vitalism and mystical forms of emergentism, which generally invoke some sort of consciousness or supernatural guidance, from the scientific definitions of emergence, potential, EEP, and res potentia that were discussed in Chapter 2 of Rethinking Evolution. To be clear, the Updated Evolutionary Synthesis, UES, does not include any form of mystical or supernatural consciousness. Consciousness arises from material and natural causes, such as the activity of the brain. Apart from concrete mechanisms such as the Baldwin effect, there is currently no evidence that consciousness plays a significant role in the evolution of developmental mechanisms.